let me give you a timeline, okay? And I'm not going to.
And compare it against the transit side and the bus side. I think
I'm not going to sugar this up, but I'm also not going to be pessimistic. Here's what I would say to you. I went to Charlotte, Phoenix, and Norfolk, and I talked to their transit experts about what they did to make this happen for their areas, okay? And fundamentally, what I came away with was that it was a 12-year lifespan. Now, what does that 12 years cover? It covers doing the 3 years of project planning NEPA work. It covers getting a record of decision, as Scott was talking about, that you can then take to the feds and say, we're ready for a new starts grant to start building this thing. And you do final engineering and you acquire all the right-of-way you need to, the 70-foot path that I was describing. And then you build for 7 years. And in this case, we build from Branch Avenue South. And it's probably going to be built in 3 phases of 6 miles each. So you would get the first 6 miles built in Prince George's, the second 6 miles, and then our 6 miles. If we got approval tomorrow for project planning, we could be looking at transit service 12 years from now. The point I want to make, though, is that I talked with Martin O'Malley about project planning when he was still governor, all right, in 2013. And now here we are on the threshold of 2018, and we haven't started project planning. So, you know, I hate to make sports comparisons, but we have simply got to get the ball across this first down, I'll call it, to get into project planning NEPA. Because until that starts, we're on the rat wheel. And we're going to keep spinning until that commitment is made. Now let me put on a state hat for a second. For the state of Maryland, project planning in the annual 5-year capital program is the firewall. Maryland will do studies forever that don't commit the state to anything. Until they agree to put money in the capital program for project planning and NEPA, you haven't crossed that firewall. And so that's why, in a sense, that's why when we met with Secretary Ron on March 23rd, we were like a fighter plane trying to land on the aircraft carrier, and he was waving us off. Okay? Until we can stick that landing, we are not going to move this project into a predictable schedule. Let me say something else about predictability. The day the state commits itself to project planning, we're in business. Here's what I mean. We have a terrific plan that the county's put together for the Old Washington Road corridor. We call it the Waldorf Urban Redevelopment Corridor. And we have a phase 1 plan there for transit-oriented development that will be right next to the transit station there at Leonardtown Road and Old Washington Road, where the railroad tracks are, behind the Verizon building, if you know where I'm talking about. The day that flare is fired up into the air, saying that we're in the CTP for project planning, we can start talking to the TOD developers in Maryland about doing projects in that corridor. We can start to bring vitality and economic activity and jobs to that corridor of Charles County. We can start talking about people working in Charles County instead of leaving the county for work. We can start talking about creating livable, walkable, mixed-use communities next to rail that will interest the millennials in the county. We can start talking about our kids and grandkids not leaving Charles County when they graduate from high school. All of that conversation can begin the day that the state commits itself to starting project planning.